Bangladesh Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus calls for increased trade and economic cooperation with Nepal as the country's Prime Minister KP Sharma calls on him in New York. China wants to deepen its trade and economic ties with Bangladesh, says Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi during a meeting with Bangladesh's Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus. World Bank to provide $3.5 billion to support Bangladesh's reforms. Illegal elections, one after another, has prolonged autocratic rule of Awami League, while Election Commission loyal to Sheikh Hasina destroyed the election system, opines the experts. There will be no security risk as police will remain on highest alert during Durga Puja this year, says IGP. US and its allies calls for immediate 3-week ceasefire across the Israel-Lebanon border. And Bangladesh's ace all-rounder Shakib Al Hasan announces his retirement from Test and T20 internationals. Assalamu alaikum viewers, this is News at 10 on BTV and BTV World. You have just heard the headlines, moving on to the detailed stories. Bangladesh Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus has called for increased trade and economic cooperation with Nepal. The Chief Advisor made the call when he met Prime Minister of Nepal KP Sharma Oli on the sideline of the UN General Assembly at the UN headquarters in New York on Wednesday. Energy cooperation, trade and people-to-people interactions between the two South Asian nations featured prominently during the talks. Professor Yunus has stressed the need for increased energy trade between two nations, saying Nepal is endowed with a huge amount of renewable energy. Bangladesh is expected to sign a 40-megawatt power purchase agreement with Nepal next month. Nepalese delegates at the meeting said the country would be able to export more electricity in a few years. Energy, Power and Transport Advisor Fazil Kabir Khan and Senior Secretary and SDG Affairs Coordinator Lamia Murshid were also present during the meeting. China wants to invest in solar panel sector in Bangladesh to deepen trade and economic ties with Dhaka. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made the announcement when he called on Bangladesh Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus on the sideline of the UN General Assembly at the UN headquarters in New York on Wednesday. The Chinese Foreign Minister described Professor Yunus as an old friend of the Chinese people, and he congratulated the Chief Advisor for assuming the leadership of the interim government. The Chief Advisor stressed closer relations with China and opening a new chapter in the ties between the two nations. He also called for increasing technological collaboration between the companies of both the nations. President of the World Bank, Ajay Banga, said Wednesday the bank would provide $3.5 billion to Bangladesh to support the interim government's reform initiatives. The World Bank president announced the support during a meeting with Bangladesh Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus on the sideline of the UN General Assembly at the UN headquarters in New York. Banga, a longtime friend of Professor Yunus, said at least $2 billion would be fresh lending and another $1.5 billion would be repurposed from the existing programs. He said the World Bank would support reforms in digitization, liquidity, energy and power, and transport. During the meeting, Professor Yunus sought the World Bank's support for the wide-ranging reforms the interim government had undertaken. He asked the World Bank to be creative about its lending program. It is a big opportunity to rebuild the country, he said. The World Bank president discussed the energy sector cooperation in South Asia and how hydro energy produced in Nepal and Bhutan could be shared by neighbors such as India and Bangladesh. Energy and Power Advisor Fazil Kabir Khan also present in the meeting. Chief Advisor Professor Dr. Mohammed Yunus has called upon the world's leading charity organization, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to increase support to the health sector of Bangladesh. He made the call when Mark Sussman, CEO of the foundation, called on him at the UN headquarters on the sidelines of UNGA session on Wednesday. Mark Sussman responded positively to the chief advisor's call and showed interest in increasing their involvement in Bangladesh. During the meeting, the chief advisor called for conducting social business in other sectors apart from the health sector in Bangladesh. Chief Advisor Professor Mohammed Yunus has said his government is committed to upholding human rights and freedom of speech in the country. He made the comments when senior officials from more than half a dozen top global human rights groups met him at a hotel in New York on Wednesday. During the meeting, justice and accountability of the atrocities and human rights abuses committed during the July-August mass uprising and also during Sheikh Hasina's 15-year-long dictatorship were discussed. Human rights officials stressed the need for more investigations into some 3,000 extrajudicial killings carried out during the dictatorship. They also called for security sector reforms, repeal of the Cybersecurity Act, and deeper probe, unfettered access to and accountability on the detention centers where the victims of the enforced disappearances were kept during the dictatorship. President of the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights, Kerry Kennedy, led the delegation of 9 human rights officials. The Secretary General of Amnesty International, Agnes Callamard, also joined the meeting. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resorted to trickery and conspiracy to cling to power for long since the Awami League formed the government in 2008. The Election Commission, loyal to Sheikh Hasina, extended all-out cooperation to this end. As a result, the Awami League came to power again in 2014 through a state-managed election in which 154 members of parliament were elected uncontested. Almost another similar election was organized in 2018 to keep Awami League in power, in which voting across the country was held at night. In 2024, the Loyal Election Commission, led by Qazi Habibul Awal, organized a dummy parliamentary election so that the Awami League can stay in power. The 3 election commissions, led by Qazi Rakibuddin Ahmed, Nurul Huda, and Qazi Habibul Awal, played vital roles to prolong the autocratic rule of Sheikh Hasina. TIB's Executive Director Dr. Iftikharuzzman said voting rights of people were scrapped by politicizing the Election Commission. According to election experts, the plot to stay in power for a longer period was implemented through scrapping the caretaker government system by Sheikh Hasina's government. Information and Broadcasting Advisor Mohammad Nahid Islam said the tragic and untimely death of Tanzim Sarwar due to a criminal attack is not only a loss for Bangladesh Army but also an irreparable loss for the country. He said this to the media after meeting with the family members of the slain lieutenant at the Army Multipurpose Complex in Dhaka Cantonment today. The meeting was attended by Tanzim's father, Sarwar Jahan Delawar, his uncle, sister, niece, and several senior army officials. On behalf of the interim government, Nahid Islam expressed condolences and said Tanzim Sarwar will live on as a symbol of patriotism for the youth of this country. Referring to the July uprising, the advisor said, young army officers played a strong role by refusing to fire on innocent students and civilians. They stood by the people, and from that sense of duty, the army continues to work for the country, ensuring not only the nation's defense but also maintaining law and order. The advisor also said government will ensure the severest punishment for those responsible for this heinous crime. The investigation is ongoing and authority will uncover if there is anything further behind the incident. But justice will be delivered to all those connected with this incident. Agriculture and Home Advisor Lieutenant General Retired Mohammad Jahangir Alam Chaudhary said farmers have to be evaluated who play a vital role in bringing success to agricultural sector and ensuring food security. He said this at a view exchange meeting organized on the occasion of his visit to Bangladesh Agricultural Development Corporation (BADC) in the capital today. Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture Dr. Nurul Nahar Chaudhry and Chairman of BADC Abdullah Sajjad NDC were present on the occasion. The Agriculture Advisor said that accurate information about production costs should be made available. If the statistics are correct, farmers will be benefited. He directed the BADC officials to supply fertilizers and seeds to the farmers in time. Later, the advisor visited different offices of BADC. Srabon Ghazi was a second-year student of the Department of Software Engineering at Tunku Abdur Rahman University in Malaysia. He joined the agitating students and mass people during the quota reform movement in front of New Market at Sawar Bazar bus stand on Dhaka-Arisha Highway on August 5. At one stage, Srabon Ghazi sustained bullet injuries fired by the police, Awami League, Chhatra League, Jubo League and other terrorists. He was declared dead by doctors when taken to Ashulia Ganoshasto Hospital. This brilliant student was buried at the dairy farm graveyard in Sawar. Losing the only son, parents of Srabon Ghazi are still passing days in grave. They are looking for memories of their only son in the things he used. This young man returned home from his university in Malaysia to take part in the anti-discrimination student movement. Mannan Ghazi, the father of martyred Srabon Ghazi, filed a lawsuit with Sawar Model Police Station, naming 85 people, including Awami League General Secretary Ubaidul Qadir and former Home Minister Asaduzzaman Khan Kamal. Besides, 200 to 250 unknown people were also accused in the case. The quota reform movement turned into the anti-discrimination student movement that ousted Sheikh Hasina's government on August 5. Visiting Chinese National Emergency Medical Team assured of providing all assistance for the better treatment of those injured during the student-led mass uprising. Additional Health Secretary Shah Mohammad Hilaluddin said this today while briefing journalists after exchanging views with the Chinese medical team. Director General of the Directorate General of Health mentioning that the Chinese government has decided to send a national emergency medical team to Bangladesh at the call of Chief Advisor Dr. Yunus, Mohammad Hilaluddin said the Chinese government will provide all kinds of support for the better treatment of those injured during the anti-discrimination student movement as our strategic cooperation partner. He also said a total of 708 people were killed and 25,000 people were injured so far in the recent student movement. Now, international news. The United States, France and several allies called for an immediate 3-week ceasefire across the Israel-Lebanon border, while also expressing support for a ceasefire in Gaza following intense discussions at the United Nations yesterday. The ceasefire would apply to the Israel-Lebanon blue line, the demarcation line between Lebanon and Israel, and would allow the parties to negotiate towards a potential diplomatic resolution of the conflict. The allies that signed the joint statement included Australia, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and the European Union. Based on discussions with Israelis and Lebanese, the US and its allies felt this was the right time for a call for a ceasefire, the official added. Israel's UN ambassador Danny Danon told reporters before a UN Security Council meeting on Wednesday that Israel would welcome a ceasefire and preferred a diplomatic solution. Meanwhile, Israel widened its airstrikes in Lebanon on Wednesday and at least 72 people were killed, according to a Reuters compilation of Lebanese Health Ministry statements. The ministry earlier said at least 223 were wounded. Israel's military chief said a ground assault was possible, raising fears the conflict would spark a wider Middle East war. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that Russia could respond with nuclear weapons if it were attacked with conventional arms in the latest changes to the country's nuclear doctrine. In a televised meeting of Russia's Security Council, Putin announced that under the planned revisions, an attack against the country by a non-nuclear power with the participation or support of a nuclear power would be seen as a joint attack on the Russian Federation. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said this should be considered a definite signal to the West. The European Union, however, rejected Putin's decision as reckless and irresponsible. Russia has established a weapons program in China to develop and produce long-range attack drones for use in the war against Ukraine. The information is published in media according to two sources from a European intelligence agency and documents reviewed by Reuters. EM's Kupol, a subsidiary of Russian state-owned weapons company Almaz, has developed and flight-tested a new drone model called G3 in China with the help of local specialists, according to one of the documents, a report that Kupol sent to Russian Defense Ministry earlier this year outlining its work. Kupol told the Defense Ministry in subsequent update that it was able to produce drones, including the G3, at a scale at a factory in China so the weapons can be deployed in the special military operation in Ukraine, the term Moscow uses for the war. The White House National Security Council said it was deeply concerned by the Reuters support of the drones program, which it said appeared to be an instance of a Chinese company providing lethal assistance to a US-sanctioned Russian firm. What a surprise! What a moment! Get ready for a cosmic surprise this autumn. Earth is about to get a second moon, according to scientists. A small asteroid is going to be captured by Earth's gravitational pull and temporarily become a mini-moon. This space visitor will be around from September 29 for a couple of months before escaping from Earth's gravity again. Sadly, the second moon is going to be too small and dim to be seen unless you have a professional telescope. The asteroid was first spotted by NASA's Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System on 7th August. Occasionally, some of these asteroids get relatively close, getting as near as 2.8 million miles from our planet, which is exactly what's about to happen. Starting this weekend, this small asteroid will spend about 2 months orbiting the Earth. The mini-moon, significantly known as 2024 PT5, will appear in the orbit for only 2 months. So don't worry if you miss this one. Scientists predict 2024 PT5 will also return to Earth's orbit again in 2055. Back to home news. Inspector General of Police Mainul Islam has said there is no specific threat centering Durga Puja, the biggest religious festival of the Hindu community. He said this while replying to a query after attending a program at tourist police headquarters in Dhaka today. IGP hoped that the Hindu community will be able to celebrate their festival peacefully, as police will ensure full security. Authorities concerned were present at the function. BNP Senior Joint Secretary General Ruhul Kabir Rizvi has said fascist Sheikh Hasina and her cohorts will be brought to justice for the brutal killing of students. He made the remarks while addressing a function at Matuail in Narayanganj today. The function was organized by Amra BNP family under the direction of Tariq Rahman to provide sympathy and financial assistance to the families of the martyrs who were killed by police during the anti-discrimination student movement. Later, he handed over cash to the families of Shahid Parvez and Shahid Shoikot Chandru. Amir of Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami, Dr. Shafiqur Rahman, has said that those who help the autocracy have no moral right to serve the nation from any important position of the state. They have to be identified and brought under the law so that no autocracy revisit the country in future. Dr. Shafiqur Rahman said this while speaking as the chief guest at a lawyers' rally organized by Dhaka Metropolitan South Jamaat-e-Islami at IDEB Bhavan this afternoon. Dhaka South City Amir of Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami Muhammad Nurul Islam Bulbul presided over the meeting. Dr. Shafiqur Rahman said those who committed genocide, those who are its masterminds, should be brought under the law. Today was the 11th day of Ashwin in the Bengali calendar. Even at the end of autumn, the picture of monsoon is seen with heavy rain across the country. There has been torrential rain for the second day in different parts of the country. Meanwhile, incessant rains caused waterlogging in many parts of the capital city, Dhaka. Public life was disrupted, with students, office goers and working people experiencing huge sufferings. Long traffic jams were also seen in different areas of the capital. And now sports news. Bangladesh ace all-rounder Shakib Al Hasan has announced his retirement from the Test and T20 internationals. The former men's cricket team captain made the announcement at a press conference on Thursday, a day before the Kanpur Test against India. However, Shakib will play his last Test match on home soil against South Africa in October, following which he will hang up his white jersey. His final T20 appearance came during the ICC Men's T20 World Cup earlier this year. However, if the management warrants, he will play ODIs till the Champions Trophy to be held in Pakistan next year. Shakib has scored 4,600 runs in 70 tests for the national team and has taken 242 wickets for the country. He played 129 T20 internationals. Shakib has scored 2,551 runs in this format and has taken 149 wickets. India will take on Bangladesh in the second and last test of the two-match series in Kanpur tomorrow. The match will start at 10 a.m. Bangladesh Standard Time at Green Park Stadium. Earlier, the Tigers lost to the host by 280 runs in the first test and trailed by 1-0 in the series. Bangladesh women's cricket team reached United Arab Emirates this afternoon to participate in the ICC Women's T20 World Cup. The women cricketers left Dhaka at around 10:30 a.m. The Tigresses arrived in the United Arab Emirates around 4 p.m. Bangladesh will play in the B group in the World Cup. Bangladesh will face Scotland in the opening match of the tournament on October 3rd. The Tigresses will have to play 3 more matches after October 3rd. The matches will be played against England on October 5, West Indies on October 10 and South Africa on October 12. To end the bulletin's headlines once again. Bangladesh Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus calls for increased trade and economic cooperation with Nepal as the country's Prime Minister KP Sharma calls on him in New York. China wants to deepen its trade and economic ties with Bangladesh, says Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi during a meeting with Bangladesh's Chief Advisor Professor Mohammad Yunus. World Bank to provide $3.5 billion to support Bangladesh's reforms. Illegal elections, one after another, has prolonged autocratic rule of Awami League, while Election Commission loyal to Sheikh Hasina destroyed the election system, opines the experts. There will be no security risk as police will remain on highest alert during Durga Puja this year, says IGP. US and its allies call for immediate 3-week ceasefire across Israel-Lebanon border. And Bangladesh's ace all-rounder Shakib Al Hasan announces his retirement from the Test and T20 internationals. And viewers, that's all from the newsroom for the moment. Thank you for staying with us, and we invite you to watch our 11:30 Bangla News. Until then,